War, with its brutal nature, has consistently given rise to innovative and sometimes terrifying combat methods. The Vietnam War was no different, featuring a range of horrifying traps that will be explored in this video, shedding light on the gruesome tactics that defined this period in history. Number 5. Gas traps. The Vietnam War's infamous component among its extensive array of traps represented a sinister transformation in guerrilla warfare. Although not as widespread as some of the other physical snares, gas traps symbolized the war's ever-changing boundaries, blurring the distinction between traditional combat and biochemical warfare. These traps thrived on the element of surprise, targeting not only the victim's physical body, but also their respiratory and neurological systems. There were several types of gases employed. Tear gas, CS gas. Originally developed for riot control, CS gas caused severe irritation to the eyes, nose, mouth, and lungs, resulting in tearing, coughing, and breathing difficulties. Mustard gas, a vesicant that inflicted severe chemical burns on the skin and mucous membranes, with inhalation potentially causing severe respiratory distress or death. Homemade poisonous gases. The Viet Cong sometimes concocted toxic gases using locally available substances to disorient, incapacitate, or in certain cases, kill their targets. The deployment of gas traps was both strategic and cunning. Typically, small containers made of glass or fragile plastic were filled with gas or the necessary chemicals, designed to shatter upon triggering, releasing the gas into the air. The triggering mechanisms varied, including tripwires, pressure-sensitive platforms, or even manual release by concealed Viet Cong fighters. Gas traps were often placed in confined spaces like tunnels, bunkers, or huts to maximize their lethality. In these enclosed areas, the gas could rapidly reach concentrated levels, leaving victims with minimal chances of escape. A chilling account recounts a platoon entering what seemed to be an abandoned tunnel system, only to trigger a gas trap. The confined space and limited exits led to multiple casualties and a frantic evacuation of the injured from the tunnels. Although not as numerous as some other traps in Vietnam, gas traps testified to the Viet Cong's adaptability and their readiness to exploit any advantage. These traps added an extra layer of fear to an already tense environment, serving as a constant reminder to American and South Vietnamese forces that their enemy was continually evolving, relentlessly searching for new methods of harm and death. Number 4. Mace traps. The Vietnam War, known for its dense jungles and guerrilla tactics, saw the revival of ancient warfare techniques adapted to the modern era. Among these, the mace trap stood as a stark testament to how even primitive designs could be transformed into instruments of chaos and severe harm. Drawing inspiration from medieval weaponry, the mace trap was both a psychological and physical tool of warfare for the Viet Cong. Constructing a mace trap was reminiscent of its historical counterpart, the flail, a weapon consisting of a handle and a spiked striking head connected by a chain or rope. However, for the purpose of trapping, this design was modified and made deadlier. The mace, often crafted from heavy materials like wood or metal, was embedded with sharp objects such as nails, shards of metal, or glass. This ensured that upon impact, it would not only deliver a crushing blow, but also inflict penetrating injuries. The trigger mechanism typically involved a tripwire system. The mace was suspended, often concealed amidst foliage or in trees, and connected to a counterweight or pulley system. The tripwire stretched across a path or entrance and, when disturbed, would release the mace, causing it to swing down or sideways with tremendous force onto unsuspecting individuals. Another variant was the pathway pendulum. Placed in dense jungle pathways, this trap would swing the mace from the side like a pendulum. The effect was particularly horrifying because soldiers might detect the movement too late, and the lateral swing made it harder to evade within the narrow confines of a jungle trail. The psychological impact of mace traps cannot be underestimated. The fear of sudden, violent ambushes from such a primitive yet effective device added to the litany of stresses faced by soldiers in Vietnam. The sight of comrades being injured by these traps, coupled with the ever-present risk of triggering one, turned every step in certain regions into a nerve-wracking test. The Mace trap served as a brutal reminder of the hybrid nature of the Vietnam conflict, combining ancient warfare designs with modern guerrilla tactics. Number 3. Tripwire grenades. The battlefields of Vietnam, laden with traps and snares, showcase the Viet Cong's ability to transform the landscape into a formidable adversary. Amidst this multitude of hazards, tripwire grenades emerged as a deadly example of simplicity and efficiency. They reinforced the perpetual state of alertness required by troops in the region. The setup, though basic, proved effective for several reasons. First, the wire, often crafted to be nearly invisible, posed a formidable challenge to detect, especially under the dim canopy of the Vietnam jungles. Second, these grenades could be rigged in various configurations, a single grenade for a targeted blast, or multiple grenades to amplify the devastation. The consequences of tripwire grenades were multifaceted. The immediate explosion could result in fatalities or severe injuries to anyone within its blast radius. The shrapnel from the grenade added an extra layer of danger, as these high-speed fragments could cause secondary injuries by penetrating both armor and flesh. Even if soldiers were outside the direct impact zone, the shockwaves could lead to concussions or other internal injuries. Beyond the physical harm, the psychological effects of these traps were profound. The randomness of their placement and the unpredictability of their detonation created an atmosphere of constant apprehension. Soldiers had to tread meticulously, aware that even the slightest misstep could trigger a lethal explosion. The knowledge that an unseen inanimate object could wreak such havoc compounded the stress and strain of war. Furthermore, tripwire grenades disrupted troop movements and logistics. They slowed down patrols, as soldiers had to proceed with heightened caution, constantly scanning for potential wires. Moreover, when a grenade was triggered, it not only caused immediate harm, but also signaled to the Viet Cong the position and movements of enemy forces. This dual function, inflicting direct harm and providing indirect intelligence, made them a favored choice for the guerrilla fighters. Number 2. Boobytrap tunnels. Tunnels, with their dark and intricate nature, inherently evoke a sense of mystery and foreboding. During the Vietnam War, the Viet Cong exploited this inherent fear to create a vast network of tunnels that served not only as hideouts and supply routes, but also as lethal traps for unsuspecting American and South Vietnamese forces. The construction and design of these tunnels were meticulously planned, spanning multiple levels and sometimes extending for miles. They incorporated living quarters, storage areas, weapon caches, and even makeshift hospitals. Deliberately narrow, often allowing just enough space for a single person to crawl through. This design made it exceptionally challenging for larger Western soldiers to navigate. However, the intricacies of the tunnel system extended beyond its narrow confines. The Viet Cong ingeniously integrated various booby traps into the tunnel design. These included pitfalls with punji stakes at the bottom, swinging bamboo traps akin to the bamboo whips mentioned earlier, and concealed grenade traps that would detonate upon any disturbance. The air inside the tunnels was typically stale and suffocating, further complicating matters for those who dared to venture inside. Some sections of these tunnels were intentionally flooded, while others were designed to be submerged during high tide, adding an additional layer of danger for intruders. Ventilation holes, cleverly concealed above ground, provided minimal air but also served as potential shooting points for the Viet Cong. The dangers of these booby-trapped tunnels were numerous. Beyond the immediate threat of traps, there was also the risk of getting lost in the extensive maze. With multiple entry and exit points, a soldier could easily become disoriented, making them an easy target for lurking Viet Cong fighters. The claustrophobic environment coupled with the darkness intensified the psychological stress, leading to panic in some instances. Historical encounters with these tunnels abound with tales of close calls and tragedies. For instance, during Operation Crimp in 1966, Australian and American forces discovered a massive tunnel complex in the Hobo Woods northwest of Saigon. As troops attempted to clear the tunnels, they faced not only booby traps, but also fierce resistance from Viet Cong soldiers concealed within. The booby-trapped tunnels of the Vietnam War epitomize the asymmetrical nature of the conflict. They illustrated how the Viet Cong, despite limited resources, effectively countered the technological superiority of their adversaries. Each tunnel told a story of ingenuity, resistance, and the extraordinary lengths to which people could go when defending their homeland.